What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well with you. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy. No live show today, but there was a Dallas Cowboys practice, which means we have to discuss it. This is our recap video for practice number 4 for the Dallas Cowboys. Took place on Saturday, July 30th, 2022. What the NFL is referring to as back together Saturday. You may have seen that verbiage across different NFL properties. The Cowboys, just so you know, they're off on Sunday, so a little bit of a break, but Monday it's going to get intense. Monday, the pads come on, so definitely looking forward to that. But we have a practice to recap, as mentioned. We'll start off with kind of the big story. CeeDee Lamb reportedly got a veteran rest day, and this is something that had Twitter a little bit of in a tizzy for a little while. CeeDee Lamb was absent in team drills and ultimately returned for the walkthrough. It was a little bit troublesome, obviously, when you're talking about one of the best players on your team, the star wide receiver, et cetera, but thankfully all did appear well at the very end. Now, the initial verbiage associated, reported by ESPN's Todd Archer and NFL Network's Shane Slater, was back tightness or tightness in general when it came to CeeDee. And you never want to hear that, obviously, right? That's a really scary kind of way for, players to be described when it comes to an NFL practice of any kind. And obviously, CeeDee is an important player here. Again, the verbiage, a little tightness, not back tightness. Let's just all be very cool here, very clear. So any kind of tightness, whatever it is, not great. And that's something to obviously monitor, something to pay attention to. But after practice, WFAA's Joe Trahan reported that workload focus was the reason CeeDee was held out of full team work, and that CeeDee responded to it saying, I don't know why. So all does seem well. The Cowboys are very smart about this. They do love to give their veterans appropriate amount of rest, whatever the case may be, whatever the injury is, whatever stage they're at. And CeeDee is at that stage when it comes to importance and relevance to the team and the offense. So it's not shocking to see them take care of their guy, but generally they do give people a little bit of a heads up, right? Like, Winsow's not going to be practicing today, so this just did kind of come out of nowhere. Then that word tightness being out there kind of spooked some people, but all is well. Let's move on. Jabril Cox. Jabril Cox is somebody who the Cowboys have obviously kind of been slow with too. That is some information they have kind of put out. They're going to be wise. They're going to be smart, et cetera, et cetera. Jabril Cox made his first exciting play. Not the biggest thing, but still, it is so nice to see Jabril Cox playing football again. It is not an easy thing to do what Jabril Cox does. Obviously, it was unfortunate that Daniel Jones was hurt on the play, but he had that phenomenal play on the New York Giants quarterback last season. We know that he has that closing speed, and so to see Jabril Cox get in the mix is certainly exciting. The CeeDee thing kind of attacks the part of us that says, this team needs to go out and sign depth. This team needs to really kind of fortify things, hedge bets like we've talked about on some of our live shows here. And you look at the Matt Waletzko injury, and by the way, there's still no update on that, at least as of now. By the way, reading a tweet while I'm putting this video together, Stephen Jones called it a veteran day off, nothing wrong physically, said they'll keep an eye on it. Or excuse me, Joe Trahan said they'll keep an eye on it. But so whatever tightness there was doesn't seem to be an issue. So thankfully all is well with CeeDee again. But Jabril Cox is, I think, appealing or is, I think, kind of answering the question of where's the depth going to come from on linebacker or at linebacker for the Cowboys, because we've talked about that, right? They have to have some depth there. So Jabril Cox coming along. It's still super early. We're only 4 practices in. That's nice to see. Whereas the other side of the coin, Matt Waletzko, that attacks the, the Cowboys need to go out and get some depth at tackle, right? Or CeeDee, the brief kind of 3 or 5 minutes, whatever it was in real time that people were kind of wondering about the state of him. What are you going to do there, Cowboys? You're going to go out and get another veteran wide receiver because you kind of need one right now, but maybe you don't, because James Washington caught a touchdown. James Washington got in the mix during the first practice a few days ago, had the little hiccup, little scare himself. That's just kind of the way it goes this time of year, and he caught a touchdown from Dak Prescott. Good for J-Dub. Good for James Washington. I tell you what, I know that myself and a lot of people haven't exactly had the most glowing things to say about James Washington, but if he shows up, if he plays well, that goes a long way towards helping the Dallas Cowboys, helping the cause, and we obviously all want to see that. He was not alone in the touchdown department. Sean McEwen catching a touchdown. Tight end, also a place where we love to see some depth kind of grow. Sean McEwen, somebody we're counting on. Good for him catching a TD. We saw the touchdown to Jake Ferguson on Friday, and the red zone drills Friday was mostly red zone work for the Cowboys as a whole. So good to see. Again, we want to see things like this. You cannot really make or draw a line in the sand, have a hard take right now. But all of this is very good. Something else that's very good is seeing the defense kind of get in the mix. We've seen, different moments, different interceptions. We've talked a lot about Anthony Brown, Trayvon Diggs, Jaron Kearse. Somebody whose name we haven't said quite yet is Nahshon Wright. Nahshon Wright, obviously a bit of a controversial pick by the Dallas Cowboys a year ago. Almost had an interception on, Friday. On Saturday. Great almost play. This is awesome. And if Nahshon Wright, again, there's a lot of ifs. And if Nahshon Wright can take a step, that is going to work out very well for the Cowboys in 2022. All right, last thing for us to get to today. Bit of a quiet practice, honestly. Even though it was Saturday, it was not sold out, but it was maximum capacity for the Cowboys out at the Marriott in Oxnard, California, 4,000 people. So football's definitely in the air. I know we've talked about people feeling apathetic about this team, but we just can't quit the Cowboys. And so people are there, people are loving it. And so the kind of biggest thing, I think, outside of the CeeDee story that we already talked about that isn't actually a story, thankfully, was the kind of kicking competition, if you want to believe that there is a competition. I personally haven't been under the belief that it's a competition. I've thought that this is Jonathan Garabay's job to lose. When you talk about undrafted free agents from this year's class, I think that Jonathan Garabay has the best chances of making the roster. And I realize Marquise Bell exists, and he's awesome. And so maybe it's not a fair thing because kicker's a little bit unique and different. But if we're including kicker, I thought Jonathan Garabay had the easiest path to the 53-man roster. Lareem Hairulahu was brought back just a few weeks ago. He did spend a game on the Cowboys roster last year, went 5 for 5 against the Atlanta Falcons, all extra points, no field goals attempted because the Cowboys had their way. That was the famous monkey butt game. We finally got some recorded kicking results. Cowboys have been taking a little bit slow. Lareem Hairulahu, again, the veteran of the mix, who's wearing number 9, by the way. Very interesting that the Cowboys handed it out. Obviously, Jalen Smith paid for it last year, but I thought that was interesting. Different point, but went 7 of 8. So 7 of 8 for number 9, 7, 8, 9. Anyway, 7 for 8. Good for Lareem. Jonathan Garabay, only 4 for 8. Not a great start. Not a great first day in the results department for Jonathan Garabay. Now, I don't think there's any reason to panic. I don't think there's any cause for concern. It's something like this is going to happen. I know we're all sensitive because the Cowboys haven't had any kickers that we can rely on for a long time, but we could just chalk it up to being a bad day. All is good. Don't let this bother you. Don't let this kind of, sit in the back of your mind. It will be okay. Jonathan Garabay, this is literally his 4th NFL practice, and they really haven't even been kicking so far. So it's all good. No need to panic. Everything's going to be fine. Believe in Jonathan Garabay. But that kind of does it. Like I said, a bit of a more quiet practice for the Cowboys. It was a bit of a festive sort of practice again, with it being back together Saturday and the crowd and the attendance, and it being a Saturday, obviously, a little bit of a different than a weekday sort of thing. But as mentioned at the top, the Cowboys are off on Sunday. Then they will be back on Monday for some padded practice, and that's really exciting. I do think that we're learning more about this team. I do think that we're getting to a place where we can draw not legitimate conclusions, but we can start to put things in boxes, right? Like it's kind of like when you move into a new house and you take all the boxes and you put them in the room that they're ultimately going to go in. You still haven't unpacked them, right? You still have to go through the process, but there's a bit of a calm sort of energy to having all the boxes in the rooms where they're supposed to be, because then you can start to kind of attack room by room by room. So we'll see what ultimately happens over the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. My name's RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa, on TikTok at rj.ochoa. If you want to email me, you can, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. 4 practices under our books. Dallas Cowboys training camp continues to roll on. We'll have you covered here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. Make sure you do subscribe. Have a great weekend, everybody. We love you all. We'll see you next time.